What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to my channel. Now today we're looking at r/OlderThanYouThinkIAm. Now yesterday I uploaded a video on a brand new subreddit that I haven't looked at before, r/I-do-work-here-lady, and you guys seem to love it. So I thought, why not go for it again? Let's go for a brand new subreddit, and yeah, this one seems very interesting. If you haven't heard of it before, it's pretty much a collection of stories about mistaken age. It kind of does what it says on a tin. So let's get into an example. Yes, I went through the trouble to get 2 fake IDs just to go to McDonald's. I cannot tell you how many times I get accused of having a fake ID just because I look younger than I am. Most of these are too short to be worth a story, but here's a decent one. This happened when I was in high school, like the 10th or 11th grade. Kind of hard to remember when everything blurs together. Now, my high school had off-campus lunch, but the junior high about a block away did not. So there were truant officers around to make sure that none of the junior high students were sneaking out and trying to blend in with the high school crowd of kids. I rarely did off-campus lunch, mainly because of just how crazy it is. I mean, you go into McD's during a school lunch hour and you can't even get inside the building. It's filled to the brim. Wait time isn't bad though, surprisingly, like 5 minutes. Anyway, I remember a few times getting stopped by the officers, but once I showed them my student ID, they let me go. Note though, they only ever ID me, but not my friends or the group I'm with. That is rude. One day though, oh my god, I get stopped by this guy and he looks like he's new, like you can just look at someone and can tell if they're new to a job. He doesn't even ask for my ID, which I already have in hand. No, he just tells me to go back to my school. Now, if he had done this when I was like 13, I wouldn't have argued, but no, I was like 15, 16. So I just stood my ground and told him that he has me mistaken. He doesn't ask for proof, he demands it. I show him my student ID, he doesn't believe it. I then show him my state ID and he doesn't believe that either. I even show him my school schedule and he still doesn't believe it. This butthole freaking marches me all the way to junior high and into the office, and he is so freaking smug. The whole way he's talking about how he's gonna get me into so much trouble for not just ditching but for also lying and having fake IDs. I just kept a bored look on my face. Once in the office, I waved to the principal and she asked why I'm here. I just point at the officer. This guy is so up his own butt that he thinks that I have 2 fake IDs and a fake high school schedule. She just looks done, runs a hand down her face and groans before telling the guy that he's wrong. He just glares at me, face so red from embarrassment, and he leaves without apologizing. I'm free to go, but I don't have time to get food. Thankfully, my friends continued on and knew what I usually ordered, so I get food in the end. And side note, I am 4'10", I've been that height since I was 10. My face is very round like a circle, and I tend to wear baggy clothes, usually because that's the only stuff that fits well enough. So yeah, I get mistaken for a young kid and a boy a lot. Even now, I'm 21, but still get mistaken for someone between the ages of 10 to 16. Wow. Well, there you go. If you didn't know what this subreddit was about before this story, I think it should all make sense right now. Dude, if you're 21 and you get mistaken for someone between the ages of 10 and 16, you must look so young. Wow, I feel bad for you. Like, I look younger than my age for quite a long time when I was in my teens, but never that young. Wow. It's a shame that officer didn't apologize to you. He sounds like a bit of a job's worth. Like, if someone has 2 IDs that aren't actual IDs, they're school ID and state ID or whatever, they're not going to be fake, are they? Moving on to our next story. Wife ID'd for coffee because she is too young for caffeine. Obligatory, not my story, but my wife's. My wife and I are both mid-20s, and while I look my age, my wife looks much younger, like 13 without makeup. What? Here are a few stories about her looking young. Story 1, getting ID'd for coffee. My wife and her mum were out one day running errands when they decided to get some coffee and sit and relax in a local coffee shop. They both go to order, and when my wife orders a black coffee, the barista laughs and says something like, "That's cute." My wife and mother-in-law thought it was kind of weird and thought the bill was really cheap too, but they moved down the line to the drink pickup area and waited for their beverages. About 5 minutes after my mother-in-law received her coffee, my wife went up to ask where her black coffee was. The barista gave her a confused look and said, "Sweetie, you are much too young to have caffeine." Then, looking at my mother-in-law, said, "You really shouldn't be letting a child drink coffee with caffeine in it. It's really bad for them." Finally understanding what was happening, my wife says, "I'm 24. At the same time, my mother-in-law says, "She is a grown woman. She can drink whatever she wants." The barista was very confused and asked to see my wife's ID to prove it, which my wife had to go back outside to the the car to retrieve. The barista was still very confused when he saw the ID and apologized profusely, offering the coffee on the house. So are you telling me that if this woman didn't have her ID, a 24-year-old would not have been allowed to order a coffee? That is insane. Okay, let me quickly search. I want to know the legal age that you have to be to have caffeine. Okay, so in the UK, I can't find anything in the US, unfortunately, but in the UK, I know this is actually legit. So the age for any caffeine product in the UK is 16. You have to show your ID if you are under 16 to be able to buy coffee, Red Bull, anything like that. I assume it's relatively similar in the US, but yeah, she's 24, not 16. Now for the next story. Jehovah's Witnesses think I am my wife's dad. Oh god. Some backstory. I often work from home, and when I do, I answer the door when people knock. Anyways, there are some Jehovah's Witnesses that stop by every couple of months to say hello and try to get us to sign up for their church, religion events. I am always kind and mention that I am not interested as I am not a religious person, but we all got to know each other on a first name basis. I think they also just like to stop by to see my dogs. Anyway, story time. My wife was working from home one day when she got a knock on the door and went to see who it was. It was the neighborhood Jehovah's Witnesses. When she opened the door, they said, "Hello, is your father home?" To which my wife replied, "My father doesn't live here. This is my house." The Jehovah's Witnesses were a little confused by this and asked again, "No, is your father here today? OP, he is usually here at this time." To which my wife responded, "OP is my husband, and no, he had to work at his office today. Thanks." And she proceeded to shut the door in their face. Apparently, I looked like a 25-year-old with a 13-year-old daughter, and the Jehovah's Witnesses haven't been back since. Oh my god. Surely that could be a little bit dangerous at that point though. Like, if you're 25 and people think that your wife is your daughter, they could report you. Yeah, be careful. Story 3. Costco samples are for adults. My wife and I often shop at Costco, and when we do, they usually hand out food samples to customers. We were walking through the vitamin section when I wandered off to get some lotion and shampoo. Gotta stay fresh and smooth for my 13-year-old looking wife. Meanwhile, the wife walks over to a guy handing out vitamin samples and asks for one. He responds with a, "Sorry, I can't give samples to children without the parents' permission." My wife, used to being seen as much younger than she really is, said, "I'm an adult, I'm 25, married, have a house and dogs." The sample guy was immediately apologetic and offered a coupon, which I think he hands out to people anyways, but no biggie, and a sample to my wife. Fortunately, nobody has been excessively rude about her looking young and has always apologized. As a side note, my wife is now pregnant, so I look like a creepy 26-year-old guy that knocked up a teenager. So I've got that going for me. Yeah, that's what I was saying. You've got to be careful. Oh, anyway, I love these stories. It sounds like it sounds funny, but also perhaps a little bit distressing and dangerous at times. And now for our final story, got followed to my table. For reference, I am 24, covered in tattoos and facial piercings, and my boyfriend is 29, equally as decorated, shall we say. There is this Mexican bar we go to every once in a while, and I just stumbled upon this sub and was reminded of something that happened here. To set the scene, the third floor is 21+, as it is strictly a bar, but the lower floors are family friendly. As we get to the top of the steps, the doorman asks for IDs, standard, so my boyfriend and I both take out our wallets. It's important to note we each have an out-of-state license from completely different states. He glances at my boyfriend's and hands it back, takes mine, looks at it, squints at it, tilts it around, scans it, looks at me, looks at ID. Finally, I pipe up and say, "It's real dude here," and hand him my government ID with my name and birthday. He scowls at that, hands them both back to me and waves us on. So we laugh and sit down. I order a sangria and am carded again. No biggie, waitress takes it no problem. As she walks away though, the doorman comes over and asks to see my ID again. He pulls up a chair to our table as I hand it to him and takes out a book of state IDs, flipping to my home state and comparing the two. At this point, I just start laughing because I get double carded all the time, but this is ridiculous. He ums and ahs and hands it back, and very sheepishly, as sheepish as a giant bearded doorman can get, explains that it's his first night and he's never had to check IDs before. And the bar 2 doors down got busted for serving minors, and he was afraid it was happening to him. Doubly so because we both had out-of-state IDs and mine is pretty uncommon. I told him it was no problem. He apologized again and thanked us for not taking it personally? Well, to be fair, unlike the first one, I think this one is actually okay. Like, he's on his first day of the job, probably pretty nervous, doesn't want to mess up, it makes sense. But the first story, the guy in the McDonald's, like, come on, it's a McDonald's. I know the school's got some policies or whatever, but still, come on. Anyway, guys, that is going to do it for my first episode of r/OlderThanYouThinkIAm. I hope you enjoyed this subreddit, I really did. Now, this is a very small one as well, only 10.9k members, so yeah, if you want to go and check it out, I've left the link in the description. If you want more content from me in the meantime, check the playlist on screen right now. With that being said, I will see you guys all later today with a normal Entitled Parents video.